Welcome to OM Report by Andre Alpar, your interview-focused podcast on topics from online marketing to internet startups.
Okay, so today's OM report is with William Sears. William, can you introduce yourself, please, and explain a little bit what you do?
Sure. My name's William Sears. I'm the Senior Manager of Search Marketing at Disney Interactive. I work on about 8 websites, primarily in the mom marketplace, and I manage all the SEO and the social media campaigns for those sites.
Okay, and if I understood you right in the panel you just joined, it's mostly like a publishing business. So you basically want reach, and then you monetize on the ads. It's not a transaction-based business. It's not like a shop.
Exactly right. The portfolio of sites that I work on has one of the largest footprints into the mom market out there. So we're highly attractive as a place to advertise for people who want to hit the mom audience. So you get food advertisers, baby products,
cosmetics.
Yeah, Target. Brands that appeal to moms advertise on our site, so we're driving visits to the site and page views.
Okay, so out of curiosity, what did you do before that?
I worked at Idea Lab.
Okay.
Idea Lab is an incubator in Pasadena. Bill Gross is the chairman, and Idea Lab has mainly focused on internet businesses, but has recently broadened their portfolio to do all kinds of businesses. I worked at a small search engine called Snap and was a product manager there, and I started managing a team of people on a side project that Bill Gross had come up with that was essentially doing arbitrage using paid search. Okay. So I managed that for a while, and it was spun off to form a new company called Perfect Market, and I'm a shareholder in that company.
Okay, so do they do something similar to like the large price comparison engines, or do they not monetize on an e-commerce area, but instead a different PPC feed or something like that?
The stuff I worked on was all advertising funded. Okay. Yeah, so the same thing, acquiring traffic and monetizing it with advertising on the page.
Okay, so what does your kind of everyday work life look like? What are your tasks? What do you do daily? What are you doing on a weekly basis?
Sure,
what do you do on a monthly basis?
So I'm very, very data driven. I spend a lot of time combing through analytics. I know a lot of SEOs say that they don't pay attention to ranking in particular, but they're more looking at traffic. But I do look at ranking. I think that's the most tangible expression of the success of our SEO efforts. So I comb through ranking data every day. I look at reports. I update our metrics of how we're actually doing, and I also do forward-looking projections.
So what kind of KPIs do you usually look at besides like the number of keywords that you rank, your average rank on certain keywords, or the traffic, or the...
Our highest level KPI that we focus on all the time is year-over-year growth in monthly organic search visits. So I take a look at those for all of our sites. I take a look at page views. I take a look at how we are doing versus what my projections were earlier in the month. Are we speeding up or are we slowing down? Our business is highly...
So how often do you do the projections?
Every day.
You do projection for the next...
For the calendar month. So
wow.
It's easy to do now. It's the 26th of the month, right? So I'm pretty sure being correct for sure now. But what I find historically is that I'm within 5% by 7 days into the month. So it helps us to get a feel for what traffic is going to be like. Helps us know if we're catching the seasonal waves that we do. For example, Halloween is huge for us. We have a lot of crafts and recipes around Halloween, and we get a massive amount of traffic there. So we want to see if we're tracking the same way we did the year before. So we take a look at those. We also take a look at keyword and page level metrics on a weekly basis. What's our top 10 keywords? What's our top 10 landing pages? Which ones have increased and which ones have declined? And that helps us to... I like to determine as quickly as possible if things are working or not working. Another example was when Panda first hit. Immediately you could see it in the rank checking software. Bang, something significant has happened.
So to a legitimate publishing business like Disney is, or I assume all the 8 websites are, how did the Panda have an effect on you?
It was very positive. I think
that's what I would have hoped.
Yeah. It basically eliminated a lot of competitors who had kind of spammier websites. I think it punished a lot of basically poor publishers that had poor quality content, and that helped our content to rise further. So it's actually been very beneficial. Penguin also. So we noticed it within hours. So when the first conversations were starting to percolate on the forums, we were already seeing it in our
more
data.
More traffic, more rankings.
Yeah, and so we immediately had a conversation across the Walt Disney Company. What are you seeing? You know, our network is tremendous. There's ABC, ABC News, ESPN. So we all got on the phone and said, well, what are you seeing? And people were confirming that they saw movement. You know, some of our keywords went up, some of our keywords went down, but you could tell just by looking at the data that there'd been a seismic shift in one morning. So I look at that stuff daily.
So is there like really short head terms that you also go for? Or is it more like a long tail approach because you have so much content happening there all the time?
It's both. We do really well for words like chicken recipes, first trimester, second trimester, 15th week of pregnancy. So those are pretty competitive keywords, and they're keywords that I think people wouldn't normally assume Disney has any sort of competitive advantage with. So it's very straight up normal SEO, very competitive, like anyone else at this conference is fighting for those head keywords, but we pick up a lot of tail keywords as well. All of our sites pull in maybe 100,000 different keywords in a month. So we bring in traffic across the board, but we really track the head and the torso keywords. So, for example,
I never heard the combination like head and torso.
Oh, torso, like in the middle, right? So we don't yet rank on the first page for Halloween, but we rank for Halloween crafts.
Like combinations of that keyword with other keywords.
Halloween crafts, Halloween recipes, Halloween costumes for kids, homemade Halloween costumes. We kill it on those keywords.
You were mentioning the recipe websites that you have, and that you also added in the rich snippets for recipes. Where do you think that is leading? Because usually, historically, if you look at something being added by Google, where you give them more data, then at some point they may or may not, but at least they have the possibility of really easily or conveniently
keeping the person on the page.
No, not just that. Yes, that, or just like basically putting a meta search engine. So if you say like one of your great, short head keywords is chicken recipes, then Google at some point may, do a much better recipe search, and then people for those generic terms, like because they're like they refer to a whole list of recipes,
yep.
Not just one. So probably Google will take away the whole kind of browsing to a search that they'll offer that will be more specific.
That whole concept is something that people debate a lot and talk directly to Google about. Google essentially robbing publishers of an actual visit. In the case of a recipe, though, you actually need to read the whole recipe. You need to know all the ingredients, how long it's going to take, and they don't show the whole thing.
People that come for the chicken recipes, they'll come to a list and then jump. So I think they're not stealing the user, they're stealing some of the page views.
Perhaps.
And for you...
But we still get the clicks, and it's been good. It's been, double-digit growth.
Do you think that strategically it can make sense to not do it because later on it may be a disadvantage?
Yeah, if the circumstances change, we would certainly adapt, but so far it's been a big win for us, so we're trying to do it as much as we can. Generally speaking, I think the more you can decorate your listing in the SERP, whether it's a recipe snippet or an e-commerce rating, stars, or a map, or author markup, or anything like that, it draws the eyeball to your listing, and you get more clicks.
I really like that the way you said it with the decorations, because it reminds me a little bit of when people, when they sell stuff at eBay, they decorate their offers, and you basically refer to any rich snippet elements like decorations, and I thought that's a really, really nice way to describe it.
One of my
more people will understand faster what you refer to.
Yeah, one of my colleagues, Jeff Preston, who's a great SEO, is extremely strong with schema.org and all kinds of markup. And so he and his team are doing a lot of markup around movies. Obviously, for Disney, that's a big thing, and videos and things like that. So we really are a big believer in structured data and getting that markup into our pages.
But with the movies, I think actually the problems that will come up, that they're already showing more intensively, because especially in movies, Google is pushing the knowledge graph really strongly, and there I would raise the question even faster if it does make sense or not to deliver the data in a structured way, because
well, we're trying to surface our content, and we want to be sure that we're authoritative for the intellectual property we've created, and then we can bring that traffic into our site. Every time we've done that, exposed more data through structured markup, we've ended up getting more traffic. Okay. Our goal is to just make sure that some sort of unofficial repository of content that is borrowing or taking our content doesn't outrank us. So we always want to be authoritative. So this new, I forget what they call it, the knowledge box or whatever, when you search for certain things, if it's referring to some of our intellectual property, we want to make sure it shows us and not someone else. Sure. We'd rather have people go to our sites to learn about an amusement park attraction than to go to Wikipedia.
Sure. So when you compare working in-house versus a setup from an agency, or no, sorry, I wanted to pose a different question. You're in the publishing business, and publishing differs strongly from anything transactional. So I think from what I see, if you think of simplified areas of activity like technology, content, links, then usually in the publishing business, there's a strong focus on technology. Would you agree, or you think that's a wrong concept?
Oh, I think so, because even a publishing business is transactional. The transactions are just page views. And so we have to do a lot of analysis and use a lot of technology and a lot of data to optimize those flows. So we want to minimize bounce rate. We want to increase page views per visit. So it's actually the money that we make from every page view is obviously just a cents compared to if we were selling a product or what have you. So we really have to fight to get enough page views so that it adds up to be real revenue.
So how do you learn? How do you progress?
I learn a lot from my colleagues. We are always reading.
Like within your team?
Within my team.
The other colleagues from Disney?
Within my team specifically, within our building, within Disney Interactive, across the Walt Disney Corporation, there's a lot of great SEOs. And then at events like this, we get to know people like you, and you get different perspectives, and you're always learning. I try to make the case within my organization that it's more important for SEOs to go to conferences than perhaps any other type of worker, because the game we play changes so radically, so constantly, that if you don't stay integrated with the community, you really fall behind.
It's actually funny that the SEO channel is, like, if you look at transactional businesses, it's usually like a niche channel. It delivers a lot of cheap traffic, but not a lot of traffic. So AdWords drives a lot more traffic, but there's like so few bloggers that you would see blogging about AdWords, or there's so few conferences focusing on people doing PPC. What do you think about that?
Well, a lot of conferences I've been to, they roll the paid in with the organic. Like if you go to PubCon, there's always people talking about paid search.
But in relation to how much money is spent and paid,
right,
there seems to be a lot less kind of activity in social networks, on blogs, and on conferences. How do you explain that?
I don't really know. I think that it's confusing to management that they pay, other than the employees, they pay very little for organic search traffic. So it's easy for them to think it's just going to fall in their lap and be automatic, but it really is a function of applied intelligence, smart people working hard to make sure your site is well optimized. So we work hard at that, and I think we have to go to conferences to know what's going on, but I think people in paid search have to do it too.
But there seems to be less, interaction in all the other online marketing channels. I mean, sure, there is
I think it's because we're so desperate for knowledge in organic. It's
because everybody's fishing like in a black box.
Yeah. It's like people. It's almost like witchcraft to some people, or blind luck. It really isn't. But in a presentation I have, I use an analogy of paid search is like a motorboat. You have to buy the fuel, but it can get you from point A to point B directly. Pollutes a little bit, but it gets you there. Whereas organic search is like a sailboat. You're having to ride the winds and ride the currents, and you have to rely on forces outside of yourself, and it takes a little bit of, just prescience, where you can really understand what's happening and detect little nuances in the currents that change.
You can't necessarily get directly from A to B, but instead you sometimes...
Yeah, I mean, a good example of that is like you get a link from page A to page B, and then a link from page B to page C, but page C is your money page, so it's indirect. And I think that we really rely in SEO upon inferring the tiniest nuances from Matt Cutt's last tweet, or the last post on Google's Webmaster Help forums, or what we hear from our colleagues, because we all see different things. We're all looking at different sets of data, and it is a black box. And so we have to triangulate based upon what we hear from our peers. It's not as straightforward as other marketing channels.
Yeah. How do you see the differences between the US and other markets in SEO terms? Or have you been active only in the US? Or
I've mainly been active in the U.S. I don't really know too much about the other markets. I know that for us, our advertisers want American eyeballs, so we actually limit our marketing efforts expressly to get American and sometimes Canadian audience. But Disney is such a brand of universal appeal. We get traffic from all over, whether we want it or not. I mean, we always want the guests, but our focus is on American audience.
So
now that's me. There's other people.
Does that have an implication on your work? So is there something you would do different if visitors from, I don't know, like some third world countries that probably surf the Disney website?
Well, I have colleagues that would be better able to answer that question for you. Like, we have teams that do Europe, Middle East, and Asia, and they have a lot of localization challenges. When a new movie comes out and it's called, the movie Brave, or do you know it as Merida?
I thought it as Merida.
Yeah, it's called Brave in the United States. So see, that's just an example of the whole movie title is different in a different marketplace. So that's a big challenge for that team. But they do it well, but it's absolutely not an area of expertise for me.
Okay. So you mentioned before that your team consists of 2 guys doing SEO and 2 guys doing social?
I have 2 people doing SEO that are full-time employees, and I have a third person that helps out that's a temporary worker. And then I have 3 people that work on my social team.
So what are the differences between what you do and the other 2.5 people that work in SEO?
I spend a lot of my time on strategy and evangelism and making sure the whole organization is coordinated. They spend a lot of their time very tactically, talking to editors and producers about specific pieces of content, working with the engineering team to make sure that whatever, we work on a Scrum basis, so every couple of weeks there's a new push of a version of the website, and so we always have some asks every time, and so they spend a lot of time trying to get those things accomplished. They spend...
if your tech is already educated enough to ask you, that's already, a great win.
Yeah, and they spend a lot of time in the CMS, actually making changes, whereas I focus more of my time strategically. And then the social team, it's so time-consuming. They have so much to post. They have to curate the content, find the pictures, write the copy, take the copy and share it with the production and editorial teams to make sure they're happy with it.
So the posting in the social networks is separated from the editors?
Right, but they're working closely with the editors. And so it takes them a period of time to get the subject matter expertise to really be strong posters and good copywriters in that space, but it comes to them.
So how comes that the social is kind of sorted to search? Why? Or would that be, would it make more sense to have that closer to the editors or the editorial
stuff? Well, our
stuff?
whole SEO team is pretty well embedded with the editorial team, so we're very close to them anyway. So the lines are a little bit fuzzy of, where SEO ends and where editorial picks up. Same with social. I think the social leadership came to me mainly just because I knew about it and I had passion there, and so they put me in charge of that. And I'm also using the same sort of analytics platforms that I use for search and making it very quantitative and measuring the results that we do. So I think that it was a natural fit. Also, I think SEO and social help each other out all the time.
Right. All right. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Pleasure's mine.
OM Report and Andre Alpar would like to thank you for your attention. You can get more episodes on www.OMReport.com.